And here we are.
It's Thursday.
It is Thursday.
It crept up on us.
Oh gosh. I know we've all had a long day. First of all, it's Charlotte.
It is.
And Jessica.
It is.
And we're here in Pensacola, Florida. You may have heard of us. We kind of got some notoriety last week because we had a big Hurricane Sally.
That's right.
Hurricane Sally.
Mustang Sally.
Yeah.
Came up.
So
I know. Honestly, when it went live, I was like, "Woosah," which is what I text Charlotte that earlier just to be like, deep breaths.
Everybody take deep breaths.
Wow.
The hurricane has come. The hurricane is gone.
Yeah.
We're still in cleanup mode, but
so many people are in cleanup mode.
Yeah.
and have been affected in a different number of ways. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're doing a little different format tonight. We are going to have Michael Fix join us as usual, which we always love. But he's kind of going to be the star of the show.
I know.
He's got a lot to tell us. He's a very knowledgeable. He probably doesn't get to tell us.
I was literally
everything
about to jump in and interject with, like, Michael Fix is literally like our stakeholder person that has been the backbone of these virtual wine tastings for us. He's provided us with a wealth of knowledge, not only with wines that we already carry in the store, but how can we literally take this format and continue to connect with you as our customers and our consumers. He's here with us in so many ways in this community that I don't even think that everybody realizes. If you're eating at George, if you're eating at any of these amazing restaurants in town and drinking these amazing wines, then you're sharing something that this man, his wealth of knowledge, provides to our community.
Exactly.
And I thought that, we talked about this earlier as we kind of navigated this kind of relaxed format. And Charlotte and I both said, man, let's celebrate Fix and like what his wealth of knowledge has to bring to us.
Yeah.
Which is something that I don't have yet, that Charlotte has the knowledge, but in a very, different salesperson, like
it's more of the
purveyor,
where
he
has questions,
the nuts and bolts of, this is it, and this is why, and this is where it comes from.
Yeah, especially,
it's
awesome.
awesome.
With everything. He's got a great knowledge, but especially his wines, and which
Definitely.
we are featuring during these virtual wine tastings. And so I think we're really excited about that.
Definitely.
We are, like I said, in the middle of hurricane cleanup. And so we know that everybody is not quite prepared. So we had scheduled the Troubadour cooking class tonight, but I was like, nobody wants to go out and get all the stuff and cook at home and watch us do it. Everybody's still in kind of a decompression mode.
Totally.
And
I literally just had a meeting with a baker for my wedding who doesn't have internet, that needs to get a cake proposal out like yesterday. And we're designing stuff manually and sketching designs on paper because we don't have internet ability.
Yeah.
So we totally understand these limitations for you
right.
guys.
And we want to thank everybody for tuning in, because we know that it is kind of trying times here in Pensacola, and we're fortunate that we're still able to do this. And we do have these planned through October. We'll look into November, and we'll see where we go. We would like to have you guys back in the store to the regular wine tastings.
We've had a lot of foot traffic for that. A lot of people asking when we're going to get back to that.
Yeah.
And comfortably as a shop, we've made the decision.
Yeah, we're comfortable with this. We hope you guys are comfortable with this. And how it works is that we tell you what wines we're doing for the following week. So stay tuned to this end of this broadcast, and we'll tell you what we're doing for next week.
Yep.
You have time. You have a week to go out and get your wines, and then you tune in. And sometimes we have winemakers or people in the business. We're going to do the cooking class. We actually have a trivia coming up too, where we'll be giving away. It's going to be.
I'm terrible at trivia, but I
you never know. It's
going
to be It's going to be fun trivia, and we'll be giving away a couple bottles of wine to the winners and too. So, but kind of in that same vein, because it's going to be us talking tonight and listening to Fix, because he's got a lot of great knowledge. We do want you guys to please participate and ask some questions, because this is your chance to ask away. There's no stupid questions. Just type it in, and we're monitoring that.
Definitely.
And
And I say that frequently. I say that to Charlotte all the time. I feel like as someone that's been in the food and beverage industry in my personal career, 20 years, but really honed in on special events where I'm selecting wines for clients really in the last 10, and even more so if we get finite. In the last 6 months, I'm like really learning this knowledge and absorbing this. If it's a stupid question, or if you feel like it's a stupid question to you, or if I feel like it's a stupid question, ultimately
Somebody
10 other people in the room have it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sure. Because it's not a stupid
be the
question.
brave one to ask it, because like I've
like
been there,
in the class.
and you're like, should I ask it? Should I ask it? And then somebody else asks it, and you're like, I was gonna ask that too.
It's like an algebra class in high school when somebody said, and if you asked the question, there were 10 other kids in the class that had the question.
Exactly.
And you said, Charlotte said something to me when I first joined this, Aragon. If you have the question, everybody else has the question.
Exactly.
And anybody that tells you that they've learned everything about wine, this is what it was.
Yeah, it was. Because I did say this.
I lost my train of thought in that. And I was like, wait a second. Anybody that tells you they've learned everything about wine is lying to you, because it's an ever-evolving, ever-changing environment. And you could never learn everything about it, because everybody's always creating new, incredible products.
That's why I don't like saying, absolutely. It's always evolving. And that's why I never like saying, people go, oh, you're the expert. And I'm like, well, I never feel like I'm going to get to that point in my life. I'll go, well, I've learned everything I can about wine. I don't have anything more to learn. I guess I'm done.
It's like saying you know everything about computers.
Well, yeah, that's
a computer is an ever-changing, evolving technology in which an Apple format has an iOS update every maybe 6 months, 4 months, whatever. But I mean, like, there's always new, creative, different things that change the methodology or improve, but not completely deflect from.
Well, and like right now, I mean, with the natural wine, natural wines are a super hot trend right now, and that's kind of neat, So it's fun to always be learning, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's neat, and I definitely want to bring Michael into this soon because I don't want to leave him hanging. But this was one of the things that I talked about initially with going into this was, and let's go ahead and should we introduce him? Let's do that.
Yeah, Fixin'.
We're fixing. Talk to you.
I'm here.
Happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here, and I love that delicious introduction that you guys gave me. That was so nice, and really heartwarming to hear talk about all the restaurants and talk about how much we do with them and you guys, and that was great. I mean, it really touched me. It really did, especially after this last week when it was not the most fun time for a lot of us.
No.
Well, I think it's important. People don't understand sometimes I always like to know the why behind what I'm doing. And with that comes the who. And oftentimes you don't really realize that behind this beautiful glass of wine that you're trying at George or at any number of other beautiful restaurants. I've said George twice because that's hopping in my mind, but
Hot Roast and Pinot, Carmen's, and I mean,
Carmen's, all of the beautiful, amazing other restaurants in town.
Yeah.
You don't really think about the fact like, oh my goodness, like there's an importer or a distributor or a person that is representing these varietals in our town and selling this portfolio. And it was fascinating to me just to kind of absorb that and take a step back and be like, wait, we get to highlight somebody that we like love and care about, that like every week is like, hey guys, let's do this, and let's try this, and gosh, this would be good, and you should try this. If you haven't had it, it's a winner, and I think that's an exciting point of view.
Well, I will say, and I don't know this is all you're doing, but when I first started, when we first moved here and started going to restaurants, you saw the exact same wine list everywhere you went, because there was somebody going in telling the restaurants, we'll give you this best price. So there was no diversity whatsoever
at all.
So it's really nice to see a Pinot Blanc or something random like that.
Well, the restaurant scene in Pensacola, and I think everybody knows this, has grown exponentially as far as quality and sort of depth and breadth of different styles. You hearing me okay?
Yeah. Yes.
And it's changed. I've been here for about 5 years when I moved here from New York, and it's changed dramatically since then. And it's a question of, I think, a lot of the people that have this really devotion to the community that want to bring them something special. They don't always want to. Am I dropping out here? Can I drop out? Can you hear me?
Can you see us? I was just trying to turn the brightness up on the computer because it's flashing oddly.
I don't know. I'm all right. But anyway, yes, we have a lot of great restaurants. They serve a lot of great wines. And I think, we mentioned George a couple times. They'll probably be sending us some food here, recently. We love Porsches too. So I like Porsche Cayennes if Porsche is listening. Anyway, but, when you go to somewhere like Carmen's or Angelina's or Padron Scapino or Wine Bar in Palafox, et cetera, there's a wealth of different wines out there for you. And the great thing is, because a lot of these wines have expanded into different areas and different winemakers, now somewhere like Aragon Wine Market has similar bottles for people that they've experienced like that somewhere. And, we all know that restaurant and retail prices are different. So it gives people an opportunity to bring something home and have for 2 days or for themselves and 2 people that they maybe just had one glass of, at one of their great restaurants that they love. And I would say, just to bookend this introduction a little bit, go and get takeout from your restaurants, please. If you don't feel safe going to them, pick up something and bring it home. And pick up something and bring it to, I would say bring it to the beach, but unfortunately that's a little difficult for some people right now. But bring it home and celebrate those restaurants any way you can, because, they're hit with COVID-19 and also now a hurricane. They really, really need you, I think, right now.
Well, that's a good point. We were just talking about, even the wine store, we really essentially were closed for 5 days, and any small business, and I'm not the only one. Any small business is, we already had the COVID issue, and then to have a hurricane on top of that, it's just like, really, so, but I know,
and then you take into account, you have amazing wealth of servers, beautiful servers, bartenders, people that literally, they work on the beach. They, what?
Sorry, I was interrupting.
I'm sorry. I was like, what? Oh, you need more wine. Yes, please drink.
Yeah, pour the wine.
Like servers that work on the beach and servers that, live downtown and vice versa. Bartenders, it's a change in.
Oh yeah, not to mention we have no bridge. We have no way to get to Gulf Breeze. It's affecting a lot of people.
It's affecting so many people in so many different ways. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and tip your servers, man. Tip them.
Oh yeah. I think everybody, everybody knows that by now.
If you're getting takeout,
so here's an actual
takeout, please.
I was at brunch the other day, and we were talking about our tips. So when in doubt, take the first number and multiply by 2.
That's such a smart thing. So if you're paying,
you think I'm joking, but seriously, it worked well the other day.
Yeah,
right?
it did. I don't know if it works every time, but
I don't know if it works every time. There's a small equation. I think you can look it up. But when in
we're
doubt,
not number people.
We're not. We're artists and creatives.
So I'm hoping that everybody has their white for tonight. We're doing a white Burgundy, and it's called Maison. Oh wait, what is it? Jean Touzeau. Domaine Jean Touzeau. So it's a make-on. It's actually new to me, if you can't tell. But so this is the first time I've had it, and I'm drinking it very quickly. It's going down fast because it's very delicious. I like how crisp and clean it is. But Fix, tell us a little bit about this wine. Everybody, open your wine.
Yeah, so Domaine Touzeau is in the Macon area, Macon Village, if you can see there. Yep, Macon Village. That looks like the right bottle. And it's 100% Chardonnay. So when we're talking about Burgundy.
So in Burgundy, the white Burgundies are normally Chardonnay, correct?
Yes, I mean there's Aligoté, which is another authorized grape for certain areas. That's a white grape. there can be in some areas, depending on the delineation, some like white Gamay. There's different ones, but you don't see those very often. Majority of the time in the United States, it's Chardonnay for Burgundy and Pinot Noir for red Burgundy. So that's really just the majority of the wines you see, unless you go to a really cool, geeky, weird wine list in New York City and Chicago or somewhere like that. And those places are already open right now. So you're probably just going to be coming here to Aragon Market to get your cool Pinot Noir and Chardonnay fix from Burgundy. But so my I don't know if you want to look at. We can talk about a little bit about Burgundy in general if you want. I don't know if you guys want to get that into it.
Do you want us to pull in the map?
Yeah, well, let's pull in. Okay, so that's cool. We can look at that first.
What?
Can you see it?
Whoa.
Can you see me moving it?
That one.
Wait. Hold on a second. Let's back up, Jack, and let's back up to the screen.
There you go.
Hi.
You got it?
Technology.
Okay, so do you see me scrolling here?
Plants. Thanks for the stream. The whole stream of questions. Instead of questions, you guys are just doing.
We're waving.
Hand plants.
So-
On your face. They're not waving. They're going. Oh my God. Are those?
Can you see that I scrolled up here? All right, so we're just talking about Burgundy in general. This is pretty cool. So this is like the main regions of Burgundy, and the one that we're talking about today is really just south of what you see there. You can see my scroll here, the Mâconnais. Can you see me scrolling there?
Yeah.
But here's the main regions of Burgundy, and Chablis included with that. And I think a lot of people don't really realize that when they think about Chablis, but it actually is considered part of Burgundy, and that's also all white wines, all 100% Chardonnay.
And those are usually done without oak. Is that correct?
For the most part, when you get up into some Premier Cru growths and some Grand Cru growths, you will see some oak on those wines, but the vast majority of Chablis that are drunk on a daily basis do not have any oak. Really, hardly none of them. And they're, compared to what we're drinking today, they're a little bit leaner. They can have a little bit more of a more electric acidity and be a little sometimes more austere of a style. And then when we go, this is kind of moving south as we go down this list a little bit here. And you go to the Côte d'Or that's here, and that's where a lot of your famous red wines are, your red wine growing areas of Pinot Noirs, and then also slides a little further south into some reds and whites as well as you go down. Chalonnais, we'll kind of skip that for now because it's not a region that really a lot of people are familiar with. And then we get into the Mâconnais and Mâcon, which is where we're talking about today. And then Beaujolais. Beaujolais is included in Burgundy. A lot of people don't realize that. And that's mostly red wines, but there are some whites and some bubbles that are there as well. Just a little teaser, we have one of the best Beaujolais Nouveaux coming in here probably in about, 6 weeks? So
yeah, that's correct.
Stay tuned, Pensacola. So we'll scroll down a little bit here. I'll just keep going until I get to the map that I like, because I wasn't really 100% prepared. So here's the Côte de Nuits. And hopefully you can see this, right? Côte de Nuits.
Yeah.
So this is where the most famous kind of reds come from. And you can see I went with Fixin today on my handle because although it's not pronounced that way, it's Fissan.
It's not fixing?
No.
Wait, fixing to do that? Are you sure?
I haven't used that to my advantage to sell that wine in the South since I've lived here. But this is where the red wine country starts. And if you do find Fissans or Marsanais, those are great values. And here's the famous names start to come in, like Gevrey Chambertin.
Yes.
We have some people listening today that really love Chambertin wines. The purple little areas here are the Grand Crus that are throughout this region. And then the Premier Crus are these sort of pinkish red areas. So these are all like the famous names: Vougeot, Bon Romanée, Nuit Saint-Georges, Maurice Saint-Denis. These are all red wine, serious and very expensive, typically wines. And then we go into sort of the south. We're moving south to where we're going to talk about. And then we get into the Beaune area, which is where Pommard is, Volnay. And then you get into the serious wine areas of Merlot, and then of course, Coligny Montrachet and Chassagne Montrachet, red and whites, and then Batard Montrachet is, you know, maybe the most famous Chardonnay in Burgundy. So let's
just a little aside there, not to interrupt, but if you do want to take a trip over to this area, Beaune is a great little city and a great kind of central spot to stay. There's places to stay, and there's restaurants, and of course a lot of little square and everything. And so it's a great central location to kind of go and do from there. Beaune.
Oh, definitely. So can you share this other part here? We're going to talk about where Macon is. Can you see that? Can you share the new screen?
Yes. There we go.
Do you see that? Okay, so here's what we're talking about. We've moved kind of south through all the famous red wine regions and the famous, and when I say famous, I also want to really illustrate somewhat expensive areas typically. And then we get far here to the south and south of the Mâconnais into Macon. And this is the area we're talking about right here that's just north of Beaujolais. Only by, 20 some odd, 30 miles or so. I would, if I'm reading that right, I'm not sure which side is. I think this is miles and this is kilometers. Anyway, us Americans, we're not really good with kilometers in the metric system, unfortunately. But here's where Macon is, and then here's Macon Village. Some of you are probably familiar with Saint-Véran over here, which is another great area. And then, of course, most people are familiar with Pouilly-Fuissé, which is north of the Macon Village area. And, this is kind of interesting. There's no oak on this wine. So, again, I don't know if you guys have your nose in it there, if you want to kind of talk about what it tastes like and smells like. It's not a weak wine. A lot of times I think people are scared by unoaked Chardonnays, especially from Burgundy, and they think, the average consumer might want something from California or something from even Australia or Argentina that has maybe a little bit more of a little bit more glycerin, a little bit more of a fuller body to it.
Yeah.
This wine is, I think, has a terrific body. I mean, it's not a thin wine at all. And Chardonnay shouldn't be like that anyway.
Yeah, and I want to say, price wise too,
It's $16 a bottle.
Yeah, 16.
So really moderate price point for a very, full body and delicious.
Yeah, but it's definitely not going to ever be confused with like a Napa or anything. It's not like that big in your face.
It doesn't have any oak either. So it's not toasty. It's not it does have a little slight creaminess to it because it does go through full malolactic fermentation. They also do let this sit on the lees, which we've talked about on these broadcasts frequently, where you're fermenting and you leave the dead yeast cells there and kind of stir it up a little bit and kind of add a little.
That's a good point where I'm back here under the table, pumping the brakes, stir on the leaves. As a novice, I'm okay, I could open my mouth and introduce how much of, how naive I am to some of these things. But let's talk about that. What in the world does that even mean? Stir on the leaves. The leaves is obviously the yeast, right?
Yeah, that's the spent yeast.
The 10 people on my page that have no idea about
I think it's nice that we say lees and we say things like that because we're talking about dead yeast cells. That doesn't sound always that appetizing sometimes to people, I think. But as you know, as we go through fermentation, a yeast is, eating the sugars and then making alcohol, right? So there's a certain point where that's going to stop, and the yeast cells are going to fade away into an oblivion, and a beautiful sleep and a delicious wine. I mean, what better place to die than a delicious Macon Village? But either way, those yeast cells are there, and of course, they have a body to them. There is. It is a material in and of itself. So as you have that yeast there, you can stir it up. And I'm not going to get into and I couldn't get into the nitty gritty of the actual science behind that. I'm not an enologist, or a winemaker, but all of those little particles that are in there, you stir it up and that gets that sort of that sort of surface area to that wine as it's either continuing through malolactic fermentation sometimes, or just aging, or approaching malolactic fermentation. So as it's aging, you can give a texture to a wine over usually between 5 to 9 months without having to age it in oak. So you can give it texture and body and some sort of additional flavor characteristics without having to have, in some ways, the sort of larger oak flavor that can be dominant depending on how new or old the oak is.
So as these it reminds me, I think of it from like a hippy dippy standpoint in my world, like of kombucha, and like as these things settle, these bottles settle, they turn, right? So you're turning them on the lees, you're turning them on this yeast, right? Is that
it's actually in the barrel still.
The barrel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or in the tank.
Stirring the whole barrel more so than it's not
Yeah.
been put in the whole bottles.
Yeah, you're doing it in a stainless steel tank. Stainless steel.
I mean, it's a genuine question.
They would have, now it's a stainless steel tank, or sometimes in some places it might be concrete,
Right.
although that's not always that common with certain white wines. But it would be in a stainless steel tank. And then, centuries beforehand, it might have been done in a very, very old oak barrel, to the point where the barrel had been used so many times and cleaned in between use, of course, but had been used so many times that it didn't impart flavor on the wine, because it would still get some oxygenation or oxidation from oxygen transfer, but it would not bring in any of the oak flavors because it had been used so frequently. So
I may have misspoke when I said barrel. I meant vat, whatever it's concrete or something.
Oh, yeah.
My perception, and that's where I come in for the questions of clarification. My perception, and maybe this was from someone that we had a virtual wine tasting, where my visualization was literally like people in a warehouse turning bottles.
That's from champagne. You're probably thinking champagne.
So that came from. That was knowledge that was somewhere, but not very applicable to this one.
That's not dissimilar in a lot of ways, but that's a situation where you're trying to also help particles to settle to the bottom of the bottle as well, and to create even contact and things like that. But
right. But from a very software approach of the process, basically, these leaves separate, and what separates from them is
they would all, and in the barrel, the lees is always gonna precipitate down to the bottom, which is why the French would stir them in a process called bâtonnage. Bâton meaning like stick for anybody who's I think from Louisiana or whatever, right? Bâton rouge.
Bâton.
It means what? Red stick, right? Or red rod, I guess, maybe is closer approximation for a word, a rod of some kind. But bâton, if you think about bâton rouge, bâtonnage is using that stick or that rod to stir up that vessel and get that lees moving around and make sure that all the wine is getting in contact with that, so that the resulting wine has this quality to it, which would have some unctuousness to it. Not a lot, but enough to be a little more serious, I guess. It's still not a serious wine. And I don't think it should.
We're about to get some more through the magic of television. So anybody who, I don't know, I'm not sure people had time to get out and get these ones. Oh, look at you. Cheers. But if you didn't get a chance to get out, we do have some still in stock. But as far as flavor profile, we talked a little bit about that. It's got
what does it taste like? What do you think? What does it taste like?
Yeah, it's got a creaminess to it.
It's crisp to me.
Mm-hmm. I think it definitely has a crispness. Because a lot of times when people think Chardonnay, they think the oaky and heavy and stuff.
I think
it's definitely not that.
But apple's not in a warm apple pie way,
not
crisp, in a crisp apple,
but not green apple.
Oh yeah, it's not. Yeah, I don't know if I'd go Granny Smith with it, but definitely apple is the first thing that comes to my mind on this.
Maybe Red Delicious.
The thing that I really love about this wine too is that I've had it at different temperatures, and I think this wine excels at both temperatures. Like a lot of people, sometimes they want their white wines to be just as cold as humanly possible, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Nothing, especially with an unoaked wine, that's fine. There's really no problem with that. But I've had this wine really, really cold, and also, more like 20 minutes out of the fridge kind of temperature. I think it's exceptional at either level, depending on what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
You're going to be cooking with it, which is what I would usually do, is I would open a bottle and I would kind of like hang around in the kitchen, doop-a-doop-a-doo, cutting up shallots or this or that, and then have a little sip, maybe pour a little in the pan, and then have a little left over for your entree, and
So on that note, on food,
Yes.
I love food. I love to eat. I like to eat a lot. And so my mind automatically goes when Charlotte and I were talking about what are we going to do for this section, this segment, and what are we going to talk about during our different sections with this wine? And I was thinking automatically, obviously, food pairings. So, I mean, you want to go there and talk about some food pairings? To me, I automatically see a whole roasted chicken with like rosemary and thyme and like herb roasted potatoes. Stuff that chicken, kill that bird. Yes. Automatically stuff that bird with all kinds of amazing herbs and spices. And then I just, I'm a meat and potatoes girl, but I like to balance my plate with the green vegetables. So I totally would do some braised Brussels sprouts or some kind of like salad component. I like a green. You got to have a green there.
It's got to be pretty. Yeah.
It's got to be pretty.
I'll give you like a kind of a counterpoint to that. That's only like just a little bit left of that. I was thinking about that today when I was thinking about dishes, and I was thinking about roasted chicken and something, but I have a really great recipe that I love to use for just a simple chicken dish that's great with a white wine, and it's from Ina Garten. I don't know if anybody knows who Ina Garten is. She's the Barefoot Contessa on Food Network, Barefoot Contessa. She's one of the few people that actually has recipes that if you follow to a T, they come out the way that you kind of feel like they should. Whereas some other recipes are kind of suggestions. They say, put it on high heat and put the garlic in. And you go, if I put garlic on high heat, that's not going to end up very good. I'm going to be burning some garlic. So, but her recipes are amazing. And she has a recipe for it. You just Google it. It's Ina Garten's lemon chicken. I'm telling you, with this wine, because you're going to use some of this wine in it, and you should, because you only want to put wine in a dish that you're cooking that you would drink. And then rosemary's in that, I think, and some thyme, depending on, you might not be able to find one thing or the other. Just use a good herb. And then there's like lemon wedges in it, and you just sear them in a pan and then put them in the oven with some white wine and then take them out. And then you can finish the pan off on the stove and put a few knobs of butter in there, swirl it around, and pour it over the chicken. You're ready to go.
That sounds perfect. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
With a baked chicken, a roasted chicken that you roasted for whatever, an hour and 50 minutes, whatever it takes, depending on the size. This would hold up because it has the body for that kind of rich pan sauce that you get from that roasting, especially if you're throwing like carrots and onions and stuff in the bottom of your roasting pan to kind of let them give that flavor to the pan sauce. So whitefish would be great.
Totally. Like a grilled grouper. I love grouper and or Traeger if you can find it. But I was thinking like a grilled fish for me all over the place because it is super. I don't want to say super light because it does have that heaviness to it, but it's so clean that I think I would go with like a grilled grouper. Or Traeger if you can find it. So absolutely. It's delicious. Yeah.
Or pan sear some snapper and do like a brown butter sauce with it.
I was just thinking, I think we're at the tail end of snapper season, perhaps. I'm not a fisherman by any means, but like red snapper, snapper.
So I had a bad situation with snapper, so you're never going to get me on snapper.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, it was.
How about this? How about pork chops? All right, do this.
Pork chops, yes.
Yeah, do some pork chops, but then like take your pan and start caramelizing some onions, throw some apples in there with a little bit of chicken.
Okay, so I literally was going applewood smoked bacon and braised pork chops with like get a little bit of that applewood bacon where it's got that crispness of the apple, but it's still that like saltiness and savoriness of the bacon absorbed into the pork. splash of this red wine. Oh my goodness, I'm hungry.
I think we're all hungry
Wow.
now.
I mean, I could go on and on. But
The
to me,
key
this
with
also
that-
is really good and really solid with a vegetarian, like a risotto.
Totally
I could
vegetarian.
so see
Yeah.
this
Sure.
with
Mushroom risotto would be great.
a delicious mushroom and truffle oil risotto as an entree. I think, or just some kind of heavier dish like that with a secondary salad or,
Also
green.
roasted cauliflower, like roasted
Yeah.
cauliflower with onions and or like a white pizza or something. Be awesome.
Yeah. So
Or
it's not easy to do.
That sounds so good.
Everybody's
Lamb would be great.
turning us
Nom,
off and
nom,
going
nom.
to eat now. So I do want to mention a couple of things while we're still, before we head to the red. We do have some new wines in at the store.
Yes.
Some interesting new stuff. Fix, I know you've got one of them, the Amarone. Tell us just a tad bit about the Amarone that we, and the other one that we saw.
You broke up there for a second.
Tell us about the Amarone, the new Amarone we have, and then the other Italian that we sold out of it. But tell us about it anyway, because we'll be getting it back in.
Okay. We were talking about Amarone from Giaretta that we have here, which is really cool. The Giaretta Amarone, we sold out of the standard Giaretta Amarone, which is a great bottle that all the staff tasted here. I guess it feels like a month ago, but I guess it probably wasn't that long ago, was it?
It was our August training.
Yeah.
So yeah. Isn't that crazy?
The hurricane will do that to you. But we have the Quadretti, which is one of the higher end, and not super crazy high end, but a little bit of a higher end, really special bottle from Giaretta Amarone producer. And it's really, really terrific. I think anybody who's been here and bought some Amarones in the past will really love it. Well, I know we all have the Giaretta, the standard Giaretta bottle, but this is a little bit more of a special bottling that they do, and it's really, really good. I think people would really love it. I mean, it really is.
Well, that's a new addition. We also got the Cali Red in from Snoop, which is kind of cool. It's from 19 Farms.
It's not my wine, but I'll represent.
I don't know if that's appropriate.
Yeah.
It's our show. We can do whatever we want.
So West Side.
So
La di da
there
da
you
da. Snoop D-O-double-G.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say something about Cali Red. I don't remember now.
Okay. I'll keep rapping.
Anyway,
for
I'm
you.
not going to. Yeah, keep rapping. What's the LBG? LBC. I knew it was something close. I was close.
LBC. Yes.
So we got that in. We got the Mad Violets back in, which is a wonderful Pinot from Willamette. My friends Sterling and Kelly. Kelly's the winemaker. He's the guy that goes into the vineyard manager and takes care of everything out there. And so they're awesome people. So we got those in that are new. We also want to mention some of our staff favorites.
Yeah. This was a great dialogue about whittling down the list.
Yeah, of the staff favorites. And I will say that sometime we are going to do one of the virtual wine tastings, we think, as just a staff favorite one. So you'll get to try all of our favorites. We're already doing polls. I will say mine are the Zenato Lugana, which Fix, you can tell us a little bit about that. I suspect it's a favorite. It's a white Italian Lugana. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, so the Lugana from Zenato is really, a lot of people know Zenato wines because they know the Pinot Grigio. They've had it in some restaurants. The Amarone we have here, one of their great Amarones in the reserve room. So check out the reserve room when you come in here also. But they actually really made a name for themselves quite a long time ago with this white wine. And it's Trebbiano di Lugana is the name of the grape, but it's also the same grape as Verdicchio. If anybody's had Verdicchio from the Marche, it's just one of those things that we love about Italy, where they have regional names for things. But it's a grape that's really, really, it's a wine and a grape that's really famous to the Zenato family, and that they do, I think, and I'm biased, but I think they do it better than anybody else. They've been doing it longer in America than anybody else, importing it longer than anybody else. And for anybody that likes Sauvignon Blanc, the last vintage that I had of it, I really liked the comparison to some Sauvignon Blanc. So if you like Sauvignon Blanc and you want to branch out a little bit, you should try the Lugana from Zanato.
Yeah.
It's really great.
It's been one of my favorites for years, and we don't always have it in stock. We have it in stock now, thank goodness. And come get it before I drink it all. But it also does, I think, have a mineral-y quality to it, which it gives it a little more depth than just some kind of like some of the Sauvignon Blancs that we get from, say,
New Zealand.
Yeah, I was gonna say New Zealand because some of those are just so extracted and so citrusy. This has got that citrusy quality, but also kind of a mineral-y quality to it as well, which, I mean, I'm all over that.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorites. Also, Francois Montan, which you guys know I named my dog after. It's a bubbly from France, a bargain price bubbly from France. It's made in the same way as champagne, but it's not made with all the same champagne grapes. And I mean, it's under 15 bubbly from France. You can't be beat. My final, the Vina Borgia box. Vina Borgia box is my favorite. So
Do you have a picture of that?
which grab it out. So if you stole my shortlist. Yeah. Sorry. Let me tell you. I can hear myself talking. So this is it. And it's 4 bottles of wine.
It's $24 a box. Okay. And so if I could just interrupt Charlotte, go ahead and you tell your story.
Well, I'll just say 2 things. Well, probably more than 2. But one thing is they do make it in the 750, and we carried the 750, the regular bottle size, for so long. But people kept going, we want the box, we want the box. And it was way back before boxes were really a thing. And so I was like, I'm not sure that box wine will sell here, but we sell it already in the 750 and we have people asking for it. It's been a life changer for me because you can just put it in your refrigerator. You may not want to open a full bottle tonight, or maybe you've opened a full bottle, but you want one more glass, or, or you're cooking and then you're going to open something else to eat with dinner. I mean, it's so versatile. It's got so many ways, and it's delicious. So I keep one in my refrigerator all the time.
That was definitely one of the game changers for me whenever I first joined the team. Was we have a beautiful customer that orders a significant amount every few weeks, and she said, well, yeah, absolutely, I cook with it. And I do this with it, and I do this with it, and if I just want to have another glass of wine, I have another glass of wine.
Yeah.
And awesome. I was like, oh my gosh. And so I made a pasta sauce, and I made like an amazing meatloaf with it, and I made 2 other roasts. And it was like, okay, wait. So this is a cooking wine that's not only exceptional, but it's $24 a box and well exceeds anything from a taste standpoint at the store, the grocery store, obviously.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I really wanted to have a single one for myself. It was so yummy that I could enjoy a single glass for myself after the kiddos go to bed, and that was perfect.
Yeah. And you can make some great sangria with it too. And I always feel like you should make sangria with a good wine, and this is a good wine to make sangria with because you can make a small batch with it because you have 4 bottles right there. And just for one night, and then you can still the box is still going to keep for another 3 weeks or whatever, and then you can make another batch if you wanted to. And then also, Borzao is the winemaker here, Borzao, and a lot of people are probably familiar with Tres Pico, which is one of their most famous wines, and it's terrific Garnacho wine. And so these guys make some really incredibly good wines, and they're putting the same kind of effort into this. So don't be afraid of the box wines. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, for sure. And we usually always have that in stock. So, again, staff favorite.
You might sell the most in the state of Florida. I have to look it up. I'm pretty sure you might. I can look
Karen.
it up.
Yeah.
Karen.
That's right.
Business on that.
In the house. So on that note, a short list of my favorites, and I know we're hitting 40 minutes plus, so I definitely want us to move on to the Annabella. But
I'm moving on to the Annabella.
But my short list in that same portfolio of the broadbent kind of mentality, Vino Verde. That has been a life changer for me as a
that's
Southern Florida girl, like a Florida girl that loves the heat, that loves hot weather and a cold, crisp, like, I mean.
Well, and it's low alcohol. So, I mean, you can
yes.
day drink with it, not worry about, am I going to go to sleep at 5 p.m.?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to embarrassingly say that I day drink frequently. And so, no, but I mean, you're hanging out, you're out and about, you're on the boat with the girls, you're on the boat with your kiddos, you're on the beach with your kiddos. Like the wine rep that we interviewed or that we had on with us for the virtual wine tasting from Broadbent that said, this is a porch pounder. That terminology to me literally has stuck in my brain because porch pounder in the best essence of it is a delicious, crisp, easy to drink, effervescent, beautiful. You don't even have to think about putting it on your table.
I couldn't keep it in stock. We couldn't keep it in stock over the summer because
it's such a delicious
and
thing.
People come in and they go, oh, you got 4 bottles left? We'll take them all.
Absolutely.
I mean, just
you just
literally
got four bottles on the shelf. I'll take all of them.
it's crazy.
Oh, you just received a case. I'm going to pull all of them. So
I know,
Vino Verde is my new like that's something that I had never experienced before Aragon Wine Market, before Winebow Imports, and before understanding Broadbent, and that's like money maker right there. That's one of my staff favorites.
What is it, like $10? $10.99?
$9 a bottle.
Oh, come on.
So for $9 a bottle, I can accommodate a number of attendees at my family brunch. My grandmother and mother that don't ever drink.
Well, and it's like
it's so light and effervescent, and it accommodates a number of palates.
It's like Fresca.
That's my grandmother's favorite wine.
Well,
her favorite soda is Fresca.
Is that why she liked the Vino
I think
Verde
so,
too?
perhaps.
It's like alcoholic Fresca.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's effervescent and delicious. So my red, I'm going to limit my list of 5 down to 2 for time's sake. But my red, I think, is definitely the Elk Cove Pinot Noir or anything from Willamette Valley.
The Elk Cove is nice.
I mean, Willamette Janet, like, give me anything. Like, Willamette Valley is so beautiful to me. Oregon Pinots, I can't wait to. I know in the future we had talked about doing, like, some kind of.
Well, I think I think we have that. We're going to tease that, I guess, a little since you
I'm going to tease that. Battle of the Pinots, North Coast, South Coast. Dun, dun, dun.
We've got a Master Somm that's going to actually kind of participate.
Master Sommelier.
Yeah, Master Somm.
Yeah, Master Sommelier coming.
So that's pretty impressive. And we are going to do the Battle of the Pinots, we think. Something similar to that, probably.
I see Noel Smith from Old Hickory fame is down there commenting.
Noel, hey.
Oh, Noel. He's our man. He's repping some great whiskey right now, too, if anybody's seen him out there. He's got the, what is it? The elk whiskey. I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry, Noel. You're going to type it in the comments, and I'll remember.
He'll let us know.
From Old Hickory fame, doing his thing, man, with his righteous beard. We love him.
Well, and
I hope to accommodate the same quality.
Oh, yeah. I also see Todd, Kathleen, and I don't see Danielle, but I'm sure she's watching. All from up in Tennessee watching. Hi guys, missed you. Kathleen's birthday was this past weekend, so happy birthday, Kathleen. We are going to move on to the Annabella Red, and I don't know if Fitz is looking for some Annabella Red.
I got some here.
Awesome. Okay. All right, so this is a Napa cab for under, it's what, $20? $20 a bottle. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, and we talk about this on several broadcasts about what we like to do at Winebow. I'm not trying to sell everybody on the wines. It's just kind of our what we like to do is we like to bring in family-owned wineries, and wineries. We did this with the Miner family. We talked about it with Julie Johnson way back. It seems like it was a long time ago. It wasn't, but we have all these great family-owned wineries, and Annabella is made by the Michael Posen, the Posen family from Michael Posen Winery,
Yeah.
Some people might be familiar with that name. I think we've had some of those wines in here in the past from Pozin. But Annabella is another label that they do, and they have great wine. Cabernet, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir from Russian River. The Pinot Noir actually is a huge seller here. We actually do quite well with that Pinot Noir at the shop. But the great thing I love about this wine is that it's Napa Valley for like $20.
Yeah.
And it's not a super big, weird, oaky wine either. If you want a big oaky wine, that's great. I'm not trying to denigrate your what you like to drink, but you know, a lot of people are looking for sometimes great values from Napa, and this is a great value because they're not overcompensating. They're not overcompensating with kind of the oak treatment to make up for something else. It's not 100% Cabernet. It's 96% Cabernet, but that's actually quite a lot more than many other bottles of wine from Napa that say Cabernet Sauvignon on them.
Right.
So it only has to be 75% to be variety.
You know what the other varieties are in it?
There's some Merlot, there's some Petit Verdot, and some Cabernet Franc.
So no wonder I like it with that Petit Verdot in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Petit Verdot, you don't need much Petit Verdot to make a difference with the wine. I think it's only 1% on this bottle, but it adds enough tannin and structure and sometimes a little bit of aromatic lift to the wine.
There's a little purpleness to the color.
Yeah, it's got great color.
Yeah, and you get the color and a little bit of tannin and some aromatics from the Petit Verdot. Merlot adds a little bit of like that nice rounded edge, like that little bit.
Something about Petit Verdot. I mean, I'm 100. That's my favorite red grape, and so
You love Petit Verdot. Petit Verdot and Viognier. You're a Somme, Charlotte. You're a Somme. Okay, that's what you are.
Those are my favorites. And
honestly, as a novice, we're going to be guiding points because I messed up in per se say, oh, I can't Verdot, but I can understand the complexity of what you're saying now. After a few months of trying reds that say that they're Cabernet Sauvignon and then understanding, oh, this is actually a blend that has Cabernet Sauvignon that is 68%, and this breakdown is this Merlot or whatever, Zinfandel, and then a 2% is interesting to be able to absorb. No, I by no means can pull that out, but if please unfold that, I understand that.
I think it's interesting too that everybody says they don't like blends, but virtually, I would say the vast majority of Napa Valley
wines. You just don't know it.
You just don't know it. Yeah, the vast majority of Napa Valley wines probably have Merlot, and more so now Malbec is creeping into a lot of the bottles. Petit Verdot, Cabernet Franc. Sometimes there's like other grapes like Zinfandel and stuff in there that you wouldn't expect, but they're there. So you don't be afraid of blends, number one, and secondly. Understand that like this is what they've done in Bordeaux for hundreds and hundreds of years is not necessarily this much Cabernet, but still with the Petit Verdot and the Cabernet Franc and the Merlot and the Malbec and those other grapes, they've always been there.
It's so funny.
Climate in California, so the blend is going to be different the way that ripening occurs.
Well, and okay, so one point is that you may see it say cab on the label, and it may have other things in it, like this one. And you just think, oh, it's just with a great cab, and you don't realize that some of that complexity is coming from some of these other grapes because they don't have.
And that's a great point.
It
says Cabernet Sauvignon. You have no understanding of the
Yeah.
Or you educate yourself about one. You know that there's variance. It's not 100%.
And I think that it's a little bit of a dicey sort of like plank to walk when we talk about blends and how they're listed on the bottle in California and things like that. I mean, I give a lot of applause to the producers that put the entire cepage or grape selection on the back of the bottle. But I know that by doing that, they will scare off certain people by doing that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
We'll have
people will say,
customers
this is
that
Cabernet,
say-
but it also has this in it and has that in it and has this in it. Is this Cabernet?
Yeah.
Is it not
We will
Cabernet?
have customers that say, "Oh, I don't care for Zinfandel," and it would be like such a minute percentage that I'm like, "Oh, but gosh, by your purchasing history over the last 6 months, I'm going to tell you, you probably like this bottle."
Well, on the other hand, you have people that come in and go, "Do you have any red blends?" I'm like, "Yeah, quite a few." I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, you know, all the French wines practically are. So, I mean, you know, so, and people don't know. I mean, you know, that's why you come here, and that's why we do the virtual wine tastings. And I mean, I'm still learning. Everybody's learning. So,
Oh, definitely. I think that's why the education is so great, because you think that I only like Merlots.
or I don't like Chardonnay,
I don't like Chardonnay.
which I hear
until
all
you-
the time.
Absolutely. Until you try an unwooded, unoaked Chardonnay.
Or,
That's
you know,
amazing.
Try, yeah. There's always going to be something that you will like.
We were talking a little bit more about Annabella to give people a little bit more information on that if they care. You know, it's Michael Pozen. You know, he's got his name on the winery. Annabella's just another label that they do. Primarily a lot for restaurants. People have probably had it at some restaurants locally. I know Carmen's has done it for a while. There's a few other people that have done it, but Michael works with his wife at the winery. His two sons work there, Matthew and Dante. Matthew's wife does marketing for them. You know, I mean, it's a family operation from the top down, and I really love that. And that's why I really try to champion that when we talked about this with Miner and Julie Jacobs, Johnson, and some other people from California, and also from when we talk about Muzar and places like that. These people are in there in the ground. You know, these guys aren't driving around really just driving, you know, Range Rovers around all day and going and flying out to Singapore to go do a wine tasting. Maybe some of them are, but very few.
I'm not going to name names of people that I know that do that I don't like.
Yeah. I think I know who you're talking about, but you know, the majority of these people are people that are men and women who have their feet and hands in the ground.
Absolutely.
And even if they don't do it on a daily basis, they grew up like that, so they understand what that means for people that are working for them.
That was probably one of the most captivating statements that you said to me, Michael, when I first started here was, I said, God, I'm so fascinated and intrigued by the stories of these families that make the wine and the stories behind the wine. And you said, Jessica, that is wine. Like, you literally, and that may not be verbatim what you said to me, but like that is wine. That is what this business is. It is wrapped in the hearts and the souls of these families that like.
And I think that's been an overall theme.
I love that.
Of these virtual wine tastings, because
this Annabella family, like to have multiple generations, to have your wife in marketing versus, I don't even have to go into the verses, to have your hands in the field and your family in the marketing and your children in the production of it, only inherently speaks to the culture and the brand of Annabella, and represents, I think, something that we again have talked about. Like, we are all about families and villages, and everyone comes from one of those. So we love that. And this is such a delicious, I mean, $20 a bottle, Napa Valley Cab. It's a beautiful, easy to drink. I mean, super delicious, easy to drink.
Yes. It's not very tannic. It doesn't have a lot of tannin to it. It's really, you know, I think it's very well rounded around the edges to be really. They recommend pairing it, I think, with like briskets or something like that, which kind of makes sense. I think if it's a slow roast.
I have a picture, but it was brisket, rosemary, roasted potatoes. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And we have another little special bottle from them too. Did we show them this one?
Oh yeah.
Oh, please do. Yes.
So this is from Pozen also. Whoops. I'm not that good with this stuff.
You're good.
But
That's
this is
good.
tailored. So if anybody wants like a little more tannin, if they like this wine, they're drinking it right now, but they want one that has like a little more tannin, a little bit more depth. This is Sailor's Grave, and this is their other bottling that they do that's a little slightly more serious. It's about I guess it would be like about $30, I would say, retail wise, $29, $30. So maybe a little bit more for those people that want something with a little more oomph, like depth of tannin and stuff. Also, I think it's really cool if anybody goes and gets their hair cut with Nick Strange over at Wilfred's. That always looks like that's. I don't know if you know Nick, but that kind of looks like Nick right there.
Oh
yeah, for sure. But the whole story behind this is that I think it was Michael's father, Michael's father who joined the Merchant Marines and went out to become like a sort of I don't want to say rogue sailor, but like something like that. And then sailors, tattoos are really the history of tattoos. And I do not claim to be an expert at all. I only have a full back tattoo, but there's a lot of these sailors would get tattoos that meant a lot of things, and Sailor's Grave was like this sort of specific tattoo that they got. So this is a really cool bottle. I'd ask people to look it up, and if they want to try it, if they like Annabella, but they think like maybe they'd like something with more tannin, more grip, a little bit more like austerity, and a little bit more of like that traditional like Napa grip, then go with this one. Or if they have somebody who's really into tattoos or like Sailor Jerry rum.
Wow.
You like Sailor Jerry rum?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was automatically thinking about my best.
And rum, Sailor Jerry, and Portia. We like you too, and and D'Artagnan. Send me some stuff too.
Yeah, I would like that as well. I think every charter captain and boat captain and my bestie and her husband over in Destin are looking at that bottle saying that they need it. So I'll definitely promote it.
All right, so believe it or not, we've gone through an full hour. So just between the three of us, talk a lot. So we're going to talk about really. I mean,
like,
my wife always says,
we're so happy to have you.
So everybody's been waiting to see what we're doing for next week, and it's going to be a super exciting one. We are doing German wines, who tried German wines? Nobody. Nobody knows about them. So it's going to be fun to learn them. Of all the wine regions in the world, I would say I need to learn most about German. Italy would be a lifetime of learning, but I get the basics. But Germany, I really need to know about it. So we're going to start with the Winebow Pinot Gris.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There you go.
Oh, Lord. And then it's not that easy, is it? The Winebow Pinot Noir. So Pinot Noir, both from Louisville. That's
Yeah, I think a lot of people are surprised to see Pinot Noir from Germany, but it's the country that has the third most acreage under vine for Pinot Noir in the world, behind France and the United States. So,
oh my God, I just
you should be paying attention to this because there's going to be a trivia show coming up. You better be listening. If you win, you win a bottle of wine provided by yours truly.
Yeah, we already teased the trivia.
But also, so Pinot Noir, and also, because of climate change, and I don't know, people are listening might disagree with that, but I work in an industry that works with farmers. I can tell you that it does happen, and it is happening, because you're growing Pinot Noir and ripening it at such a degree that it's becoming much different from other areas where it wouldn't be able to ripen routinely before. Germany and some places being one of them, and also New York and other places like that. So it is actually, they are drinking exceptionally well right now. I just had another Pinot Noir from Germany not that long ago. It was during the hurricane, right before the hurricane, actually. I posted it on my Instagram. It was one of my hurricane wines. And it was exceptional. So definitely, if you think you're not so sure about German Pinot Noir, I'm telling you, you're going to be surprised by the quality.
We've sold the, I have not tried the Pinot Gris, but we've sold the Pinot Noir in the store for years. And I mean, it's one of the
too.
Yeah, people come back for this Pinot Noir. So I have no doubt it's a hit.
And Pinot Gris, just so we're, letting everybody know, I mean, it's the same grape.
Uh-oh, he left. He's still thinking. So anyway, I hate to say goodbye to Fix. Let's go ahead and knock him out.
Okay, let me
Take him out. Bye, Fix.
Sayonara.
So,
prematurely.
Well, we're already over an hour.
We're over.
So we're gonna close out. You guys know what ones we're doing next week. The German wines.
right.
We're really excited about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's tasting.
Yeah,
it was
as
kind of
always.
different for us with the hurricane and
It
trying to
was.
plan and everything. One other thing I will mention real quick is that we are still doing the virtual wine boxes. So what that is all the first 12 wines, the second 12 wines, and we're working on the third 12 wine box.
That's right.
And it should be coming up soon, right?
We're getting close. Promo case 1 and 2 are already available. So all you have to do is give us a shout at the shop and say, hey, I'm interested in getting, or even what in the world was promo case 1 and what was promo case 2 if you're just joining us. But certainly if you like promo case 1 and promo case 2, and now we're going to roll into the third. We're almost completed. We got a couple more, I think, maybe 2 more weeks, so we're almost completed on that. But nonetheless,
Yeah.
we have those
So-
available to you at a 50% discount.
15% discount.
15.
I was like, 50% discount.
I'm sorry, I'm muffled through that. 15% discount.
Yeah.
1-5.
Real quick, Todd is asking, is there a link to the map regions that were shown earlier? There is not a link that we have. I don't know.
We don't have the link yet, but we can absolutely get those
We'll add
and
that
put them
to-
on our social media.
social media.
Either Facebook or Instagram will probably be
Yeah.
the fastest.
And Pam Davey, I'm glad you love our Thursdays
And we're
because
so
we love
thankful
them
for
too.
you.
And thank
Yeah.
you for participating with us. And hope everybody come out and get your German wines. And we'll all learn a lot next week because I've got so much fun. We do have somebody special, somebody with the winery that will be joining us, and so we'll get all the information from her.
Yeah,
So that'll be
absolutely.
good.
We'll put all that information into the newsletter, and perhaps we can even put the links in of those maps in our newsletter as
Yeah.
well for next week, just so you have reference. But thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
All right.
All right. Bye.